Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is for Market Day in the Igbo lunar calendar, while in the Roman Catholic calendar, today's date is 8/19/2025. And remember, the reason we are giving you the two calendars is to let you know that we, the Igbo race, we, the Biafrans and Africans, have our own calendar, which is the lunar calendar. Also, even the Hausa, the Fulani people, that's the calendar that they're also using. And remember, at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call akonuche in Igbo language. Also, we were set up to provide you with the correct information from the Igbo man, Biafran and African perspectives. And we encourage you to always join us, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. And also like, share, and comment so that we know how you are feeling. And the title of today's lecture is The Lessons from Trump Recent Peace Moves with Putin, Zelensky, and the European leaders. The lessons we Igbo people, the Igbo race, Biafrans and Africans have to learn from the current President Donald Trump peace moves. The first meeting he held with Putin, Russian Putin in Alaska. And then the subsequent meeting yesterday with Zelensky and the EU leaders. And also, we shall be showing you some videos as we go along in this lecture. And so remember that when President Donald Trump came to office, he promised to end the Ukrainian war within 24 hours. And since he came to office, he has been trying to actually end that war. And so a lot of things has been going on. A lot of meetings have been held in the past. A lot of things going on between America, the EU partners, Zelensky, and the Russian president. A lot of things going on. And so, but the recent peace moves by Trump is vibrating across the world. It is vibrating because Trump, before this meeting in Alaska on the 15th, on Friday 15th, he was threatening Putin with sanctions, just like he continued to sanction, this tariff war that he's fighting with mostly BRICS nations. BRICS nations like Brazil, like India, like China, to mention a few, even South Africa. And so he was threatening Russia with sanctions, with this and that, before that meeting in Alaska. And we want to also let you know that Alaska was sold by Russia to America. And I will show you the map. This is the map of Alaska and Russia. If you look at it, Russia sold Alaska to to the United States on March 29, 1867 for $7.2 million. And you have a lot of ethnic Russians also living in Alaska. And so by choosing Alaska, it's like inviting Putin to his former homeland, because Alaska is closer to Russia than to the United States. And so that is why the choice of location was very, very important. And now, during the meeting, you see what transpired through the meeting between Trump and Putin. But for those who don't know, for people like Wole Soyinka and others who don't know, who say that the Russians started the war in Ukraine, we want to refresh your mind to let you know that there's something that was called the Maidan coup. The Maidan coup that happened from February 21st, 2014, that removed President Yanukovych. President Yanukovych of Ukraine was a neutral president. He was a president that believed in the neutrality of Ukraine. But America and NATO allies forced him out and replaced him with Alexandra Turchinov, and later Petro Poroshenko, before now Volodymyr Zelensky. So both Alexandra Turchinov and Petro Poroshenko and Volodymyr Zelensky are all puppets of America and EU under NATO. And that was what happened. Because when they made that change, Russia became afraid that NATO was trying to enlarge to Russia, to the border of Russia, because Ukraine have the longest border with Russia. And then there is this agreement that was signed due to the eastern region of Ukraine, where you have a lot of ethnic Russians, ethnic Russian languages, ethnic religion, ethnic Russian religion. The Minsk Agreement was also meant to end the war in Donbass, in the Donbass region between Russian separatist groups, because there are those in the Donbass region, in the eastern part of Ukraine, who are fighting for independence, for autonomy, supported by Russia, fighting against the armed forces of Ukraine. Ukraine was eventually defeated at the Battle of Iloansk, and Ukraine was forced to sign an agreement on August 1st, 2014. And that is called the Minsk Agreement, the Minsk I Agreement. Because how this one relates to the Biafran situation is that this war, this complaint, this maltreatment, this killing of the Russian people in the eastern part of Ukraine, in the Donbass region, only lasted for 8 years before Russia started the special military operation. It's only for 8 years. Compare that with what is going on in Igbo land, in Biafra land, all the killings from the Biafran Civil War, actually from the 1966 coup to the pogrom of May 1966 that eventually led to the war. Then after the war, we came back. The marginalizations continue, the killing continue, the injustice continue, the maltreatment continue, the intimidation continue, and nobody is coming for us. And for so many years, it has happened for more than almost going to 70 years. But in the case of the Donbas region, it's only for 8 years. And Russia started the special military operation on February 24th, 2022. So the Russian special military operation did not start the war in Ukraine. What started the war was the coup, the Maidan coup that replaced Yanukovych from power in 2014. That was when it started. And remember that one time United States Secretary of State assured Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev on February 9th, 1990, that NATO will not move 1 inch eastward, that NATO will never advance eastward. They can never move eastward. But that was not the case, because all the past presidents of United States, from Bill Clinton in 1993, have moved NATO eastward. Both Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden, all of them moved NATO eastward, and hence this war in Ukraine, which is meant to weaken Russia and divide Russia into 3 separate countries. And that is why this peace move being made by Trump is being commended by Nkoloma Hadum and other well-meaning people around the world, that at least he's making an attempt to end those killings going on over there. And so, remember, Biden administration discommunicated from Russia, but throughout its stay in power, it was not communicating with Russia at all. But Trump came in, reestablished relationship, communication, and now trying to make a peace so that Russia and the United States will eventually have, relations, doing business together, and stopping all the wars that they are fighting. And so we now go to some of the clips how the Trump received Putin when he arrived in Alaska. And without wasting time, let us show you how Trump received Putin.
There he is. President of the United States of America emerges from Air Force One. Big moment for Trump. But this, of course, is a president who relishes big moments. Indeed, in many ways, his presidency is about creating big moments just like this. And I assume the plan is for him to get to the bottom of those steps and then go off to welcome President Putin to this Air Force base. And there is the picture. Two presidents about to, I won't say decide the future of Ukraine, but certainly talk about the future of Ukraine and have huge influence on what that future is for Ukraine. And although many in Ukraine will welcome the fact that this is happening, that things are moving perhaps towards a ceasefire, there will equally be many in Ukraine who are very worried about what is about to happen. So each of them walk down their respective red carpets.
You can see that President Trump offered President Putin a red carpet reception. He gave him a red carpet reception, even though he's been publicly trying to criticize Putin, trying to impose more sanctions on him, but that was not the case at this meeting. So let's continue to watch.
And we'll soon be together. And for Vladimir Putin, he couldn't get here quickly enough, Martha. This is an opportunity for him. Donald Trump has given him that opportunity. He has been a pariah, certainly in the West. Mm-hmm. And Donald Trump has given him the opportunity to come here and take his place back at the top table of global diplomacy. And that, I guess, is already a victory for Putin, who is just walking behind.
One thing that is very important here is that President Trump waited for Putin at the airport. He didn't wait for him at the conference venue. He waited for him at the airport and received him from the airport. That is very, very, very remarkable. That shows that he showed Putin that he is recognized. He is a superpower. And remember, two things behind these two men are military might, nuclear weapons, large economic development. These are the ingredients that have placed these two men where they are today. Military power. Does the Igbo race, Biafrans or Africans, have military power? Do we have economic power? That is how we present lectures and try to bring them to how it is affecting us, we the Africans, Biafrans, and Igbo people. Do we have any of this? The answer is no. So let's continue to watch.
That jet and is emerging now.
And a little clap from President Trump to announce the arrival of Vladimir Putin.
And there it is, all looked good-natured. They look pretty pleased to see each other. And that man on the left is out of the diplomatic deep freeze, certainly as far as the West is concerned.
So that was how both men met, and then they proceeded to Donald Trump's car. That is another remarkable thing. And we'll show you how they entered the car, Donald Trump's car. The car is waiting for them. I think they already entered the car. And for President Trump to allow President Putin to enter his car. And this American presidential car is called the Beast. And for Trump to allow him to enter that car shows that Trump really wanted this negotiation. He really wanted this peace deal to happen. He really appreciated Putin's coming. That was what he showed. And for Putin to agree to enter this car shows that he also appreciated the gesture of Donald Trump. Look at Putin in the American presidential car called the Beast, now heading to the venue of the meeting. And the meeting, as we understood, went very well. So here they're now going to the venue of the meeting. The US president came to the airport, gave Putin a red carpet reception, and after that, used his presidential car, his #1 car called the Beast, both of them riding together to go to the venue of the meeting. That is very important. And so continuing, we will now go to the venue of that meeting.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America and the President of the Russian Federation.
Now, this is after they have met. They came out now to address the press. And President Putin was the first to speak. So listen to him. Let's listen to him.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, our negotiations have been held in a constructive atmosphere of mutual respect. We have very thorough negotiations that were quite useful. I would like to thank once again my American counterpart for the proposal to travel out here to Alaska. It only makes sense that we've met here because our countries, though separated by the oceans, are close neighbors. So when we've met, when I came out of the plane and I've said, "Good afternoon, dear neighbor. Very good to see you. In good health and to see you alive." I think that is very neighborly. And I think that's some kind words that we can say to each other. We're separated by the Strait of Bering, though there are 2 islands only between the Russian island and the US island. They're only 4 kilometers apart. We're close neighbors, and it's a fact. It's also important that Alaska has to do with our common heritage, common history between Russia and the US, and many positive events have to do with that territory. Still, there is tremendous cultural heritage back from the Russian America. For example, Orthodox churches and a lot of more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin. During the Second World War, it was here in Alaska that was the origin of the legendary air bridge for the supply of military aircraft and other equipment under the Lend-Lease program. There was a dangerous and treacherous route over the vast emptiness of ice. However, the pilots of both countries did everything to bring closer the victory. They risked their lives and they gave it all for the common victory. I was just in the city of Magadan in Russia, and there is a memorial there dedicated to the Russian and the US pilots. And there are two flags, the US flag and the Russian flag. And I know that here as well, there is such a memorial. There is a military burial place several kilometers away from here. The Soviet pilots that buried there who died during.
What is important again for you to know is that, remember, from the time of this Russia special military operation in Ukraine, that the Russians have been winning in the battlefield. They have conquered more territories, they have killed more Ukrainians, and the European Union and NATO don't have no cards. They don't have no cards without Trump, without America. There's no NATO. And so they are winning the war, and they don't have a choice than to dance to the tune of Russia. Russia will be the country that will decide what will go on in Ukraine. It's just like Russia coming to Mexico or Cuba to start a war very close to America. They will not like that. The American government and people will not like it. And so, since this Ukrainian war is being fought in Russia's backyard, the world greatest superpower, they are the one to decide how this war will end. And that is why you remember also that Trump and the European allies, we are calling for ceasefire first. But the Russians say that they want a comprehensive peace plan. And in this meeting, I think, we at Nkolomadu think the truth won. And what is that truth? That it was NATO that started this mess in Ukraine, using Zelensky as a puppet. And that Russia made every attempt for this not to happen. And that Russia is winning the war. And that the American economy is also not very good. So that's why Trump is trying to cut costs. The American MAGA base, which supported Trump, doesn't want the war to continue. And that is why Trump is making every effort to strike a peace agreement with Russia. Let's continue to watch.
That dangerous mission. We're thankful to the citizens and the government of the US for carefully taking care of their memory. I think that's very worthy and noble. We'll always remember other historical examples when our countries defeated common enemies together in the spirit of battle camaraderie and allyship that supported each other and facilitated each other. I'm sure that this heritage will help us rebuild and foster mutually beneficial and equal ties at this new stage, even during the hardest conditions. It is known that there have been no summits between Russia and the US for 4 years, and that's a long time. This time was very hard for bilateral relations, and let's be frank, they've fallen to the lowest point since the Cold War. I think that's not benefiting our countries and the world as a whole. It is apparent that sooner or later, we had to amend the situation to move on from the confrontation to dialogue. And in this case, a personal meeting between the heads of state has been long overdue. Naturally, under the condition of serious and painstaking work, and this work.
And we will end this press briefing here, just to let you know that in this press briefing, the Russian president was saying that the best way to settle the Ukrainian conflict is through comprehensive peace deal and not ceasefire, which President Trump agreed to. And President Putin spoke for 8 minutes out of the 12 minutes. So President Trump didn't say much. And when Trump was saying when the next meeting will be, Putin said it should be in Moscow. So that was how that press conference ended. And then yesterday, Zelensky and EU leaders came to the White House, and we'll show you what happened.
It's a great honor to have you here. Special place. White House is special no matter where you're from. Represents so much, and it really is beautiful. And thank you for all of the wonderful things that took place today. We've had a very successful day thus far. Important discussions as we work to end the killing and stop the war in Ukraine. We're all working for the same goal, very simple goal. We want to stop the killing, get this settled. I've just had the honor of being with President Zelensky and all of the discussions that we've had. We covered a lot of territory. And I spoke indirectly with President Putin today. We're going to call President Putin right after this meeting. I'm sure we're going to have a solid meeting, good meeting, maybe a great meeting. And we're going to try and work out a trilat after that and see if we can get it finished, put this to sleep, because this is not since the Second World War has there been anything like this. So I'm honored to welcome NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who's a great gentleman, great political leader in Europe generally, but now he's the NATO Secretary General, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much, Mark. Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom, our friend and my friend, and doing really well. And people like him a lot. We all like him. Everyone knows President Macron of France, who's been with me from the beginning, one of the first people I met as a foreign dignitary, and I liked him from day one. And I like
all the European leaders are here, mayors of France, Macron of mayors of Germany, Macron of France, Starmer of Great Britain, EU, all of them, EU leaders, Zelensky, all of them are there. They came there to meet Trump because they were afraid that Trump and the United States will cut a deal with Russia without involving them. Because it's like the EU, the European Union, don't have no cars. They don't have no cars. They don't have no military strength. They don't have no economic strength. The only nation among the EU that have nuclear power, nuclear weapon, is France. Apart from France, none of them have nuclear power, nuclear weapon, and none of them have great military might and weapons. They don't. Everything they are doing they're depending on the United States. Everything they have done so far, they are depending on the United States. And so that is why all of them rush to Trump to try to make sure they are included in the deal that is about to occur with Russia. And so let's continue to listen to Trump.
Him even more now. That's pretty good. That's unusual. That's a pretty unusual thing. Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, who's a really a great leader and an inspiration over there. She's served now, even though she's a very young person, she's served there for a long period of time relative to others. They don't last very long. You've lasted a long time. You're going to be there a long time. Chancellor Merz of Germany, who is a very strong person and a very strong leader and very highly respected in Germany. And he's my friend, and it's an honor to have him as my friend. Thank you very much. Very good. You look great with your tan. Where did you get that tan? I want to get a tan like that. President Stubb of Finland, and he's somebody that, where are we here? Where?
I'm right here.
Oh, you look better than I've ever seen you look. But you've done a great job, and we wanted to have you here because you're somebody that we all respect. And you've had a lot to do with the success, I think, and the potential success. And thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. And the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, who is somebody that we just made a big deal with all of those countries. I don't know. I think you might be more powerful than all these guys at this table. I don't know. But we had a great negotiation, and you're respected all over the world. So I want to thank you very much for being here. It's a great honor to have you. The Alaska summit reinforced my belief that while difficult, peace is within reach, and I believe that in a very significant step, President Putin agreed that Russia would accept security guarantees for Ukraine, and this is one of the key points that we need to consider, and we're going to be considering that at the table also, like who will do what, essentially. I'm optimistic that collectively we can reach an agreement that would deter any future aggression against Ukraine, and I actually think there won't be. I think that's even overrated, largely overrated, but we're going to find out. And I think that the European nations are going to take a lot of the burden. We're going to help them, and we're going to make it very secure. We also need to discuss the possible exchanges of territory, taking into consideration the current line of contact. That means the war zone, the war lines that are pretty obvious, very sad, actually, to look at them. And negotiating positions. President Putin, also, you have President of Ukraine, who is who you just met a little while ago, and we're going to try and get a three-party meeting, maybe as soon as we can. And I have a feeling you and President Putin are going to work something out. Ultimately, this is a decision that can only be made by President Zelensky and by the people of Ukraine working also together in agreement with President Putin. And I just think that's very good things are going to come of it. So I hope we have a good meeting. And if we can have a good meeting, I'll set up a meeting with President Putin. And if you'd like, I'll go to that meeting. And not that I want to do that, but I will do that because we want to save a lot of people from dying. A lot of people are dying, and we got to save them. We got to save it. 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people sometimes a week. All of us would obviously prefer an immediate ceasefire while we work on a lasting peace, and maybe something like that could happen. As of this moment, it's not happening, but President Zelensky and President Putin can talk a little bit more about that. You know, in the 6 or so wars that we stopped, we haven't had a ceasefire.
Again, we will pause this one here. This is President Trump addressing the European EU leaders with Zelensky about the need for peace, for security guarantees for Ukraine and Russia and the EU and everybody. And I would like you to listen to what Zelensky said in that meeting. Let us listen to Zelensky, what he said. Zelensky.
With the President Trump, and I hope that we will find decisions. And then what is very important, that all the sensitive things, territorial, etc., we will discuss on the level of leaders during trilateral meeting, and President Trump will try to organize such meeting, and he said that he will come or not come. Ukraine will be happy if you will
both want me
participate.
there, I will be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Zelensky speaking. Remember, Zelensky is the main loser. Ukraine and Zelensky is the main loser in this war. He has been used and dumped, just like the colonial masters always do. Look at how all of them are looking at him, and he's talking. They are all looking at him. Many Ukrainians have been killed. Many of their country have been destroyed. Many of their territory have been taken. And they are the loser in this war. And that is why it is not good for anybody to fight his neighbor with foreigners. All these people looking at him are foreigners to Ukraine and Russia. And now he decided to be used to fight Russia. And now he's the loser. Let's continue to listen to him. He's the loser in this war.
Thank you. And I think this is very important. Yes. So security guarantees, bringing kids back, and all our people, not only warriors, first of all, warriors, and all the civilians, journalists, a lot of people in prison. So we need them back. And guarantees which will work for the years. We spoke about it. And I showed to President a lot of details on the battlefield, on the map. Thank you so much. Thank you for the map, by the way.
Good map.
It was great. Yeah. I'm thinking how to take it back.
We'll get you.
No. I think that we had constructive, specific meeting, and
They showed him the map of all the territories that he has lost. And he said he wished he can get them back. He cannot get them back. They showed him the map of all the territories he has lost. And remember, he was offered an agreement in Turkey 2 weeks after the war. But the American president and the NATO tell him not to sign that agreement. And now his country is destroyed, his people killed, and he has lost a lot of territories. I cannot get them back. Let's continue to watch him.
I'm very thankful to all the leaders who are here, and you help a lot. And so we are happy that we have such big unity today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much,
for hosting us.
Mr. President.
That was Zelensky speaking at the meeting with Trump and the EU leaders. And we want to use this lecture also to let you know that during the last negotiation between EU leaders and Trump, EU leaders gave up so many things to Trump just for him to continue supporting them in the Ukrainian war. EU leaders gave a lot, and we will show you some of the things that they lost. I don't know if you guys can see, but let me just read it out a little bit what the EU gave to Trump, hoping that Trump will continue with the war. The deal marks a generational modernization of the transatlantic alliance and will provide Americans with unprecedented levels of market access to the European Union, which means the European Union will be buying a lot of things from the US. The deal bolsters America's economy and manufacturing capabilities. The EU will purchase $750 billion in US energy and make new investments of $600 billion in the United States, all by 2028, which means they'll be buying a lot of US energy. Remember, US is far there way far, how many miles away from the EU? How can they be doing that? Why Russia is very close to them, that they can easily get those things cheaper, and Russian oil is cheaper. And so they sign up that they will buy a lot of US energy products. That's a bad deal. So, but all these things they gave to Trump in order for Trump to remain in the Ukrainian war. But the MAGA base that supported Trump to come to power, and the American people are tired of wars because America is no longer that rich. American economy is going down because, you know, many countries, especially from the BRICS, are now buying things with their own currencies and not depending on the dollar. Plus, American sanctions, American freezing of people's assets, like the one they freeze the asset of Venezuela, they freeze the one of Russia, and any country that they have problem with, they're gonna freeze their asset in America. And so many countries are now rethinking not having their reserves in the US dollar, and also finding another means of resolving their trade payments. And so the US as an empire is weakening, is falling down, doesn't have so much resources now to keep supporting a lot of wars. And that is why US is pulling out, even though the EU want to continue the war. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. But before we do, the takeaways from this lecture is that it's good to believe in the truth. Only the truth will make the world safe. That this war in Ukraine was started by America and NATO. And now America wants to stop that war. But the EU, the military industrial complex, the CIA, deep state, and some oligarchs that are benefiting from that war doesn't want it to stop. But Trump is making every effort to make that war to stop. And so that was why the meeting in Alaska with Putin, and yesterday the meeting with EU leaders and Zelensky. And so we at Nkoloma Hadum, we are thanking Trump to continue with these peace efforts, because even though Europeans have benefited from wars a lot, they have benefited from wars for so many centuries. But how can we continue to fight unjustified wars? And the truth that is now playing in Ukraine and Russia and NATO should also play in Africa, should also play in Igbo land and Biafra land, because we have incursions, foreign incursions in Africa and Igbo land. So those foreign incursions should be stopped so that our people can be free from foreign oppression, foreign antagonism, from foreign dehumanization, foreign colonialism, foreign different all the interferences by foreigners in our land. Let the truth that is going on right now also come to Igbo land, Biafra land, and Africa. And with this, we shall bring it to today's lecture. And thank you very much for joining us, and have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you.